Hello, agus fáilte go trí seascad is me Iona Ballantyne agus ha mi toilte Bheir Cuinnidh Iona an seachcinsa sanna frostbec a chuúr ina Boireannaich iontach an sùil Spòrs na Alba. Colorúm sin studio ha Àrd-Oifigear Boireannaich Alba and Spòrs Maureen McGonigle. Program na héiche noch, vir mi hínas Maureen súlaráis dhearbhaidh cheachcéin iontach san Cupa Rugbaidh Melanie Alba. Àrd-Oifigear Parailimpeach Melanie Woods a Geamaichean Parailimpiach and Tokyo, agus ha Meryl Cooper a tuairt léirseid na han loib a bhí Farpais an an ultramarathon. Maureen, welcome back to 360.
It's lovely to be back, thank you.
Well, it's good to have you back because the last time you were on the show, it was on Zoom, so it is great to have you back in the studio.
In person? What's better?
Well, that was actually back in January, it is now September, so much has happened in that time. So can you bring us up to date on what's been happening with Scottish women in sport?
Well, you know, sometimes it's really hard to think back because time has just flown in. I can't believe it was January since I was here. But we've got lots of plans. We've been working hard. We've had a conference, so our first in-person conference. It took a while for the numbers to get up, but when they arrived, they loved it. So much so I couldn't get rid of them at the end of the night. You know, the people were so delighted to see other people. We had a great programme. The conference went down really well. Some fabulous speakers. And believe it or not, I'm now working on the awards dinner for 2021. So it's come around pretty quickly after our visual awards last year, thank goodness it's in person. So we're going to the Grand Central on the 26th of November, so it should be a fabulous night. We can all celebrate and get dressed up and enjoy what's been happening in sport. Going to be working with Scottish Disability Sport, going to be working with Ep8, the Scottish Association of Mental Health. So there's quite a lot we've got in our books and it's looking quite busy for 2022.
There's loads happening, but actually if we go back to the conference, because there was a lot of research and very important research done, and what kind of headlines can you take from that, and what research has been done?
It was really important to me. It's been like a bee in my bonnet for years. I believe that if we want equality, we have to have equality of decision makers. So, you know, where people are sitting down deciding what programme to invest in, what to do, there has to be diversity and equality. So we were asking the Observatory for Sport in Scotland to do some research for us, and we're very fortunate because a young man called Stephen Lawther, who's the author of Arrival, which is a book he wrote about the women's journey to the World Cup, agreed to fund this research for us, so we're delighted. And it was pretty interesting the day. You know, if you look at the top line figures, you think, wow, hasn't there been an improvement? You know, we're looking at 35 females now in roles on boards since 2015. But if you look what's happened to the male side, they're only down 2. So for me, what that tells me is there's 33 females there who have been put into a role that's been created to add, as they think, a gender balance, but we don't balance out 12 men on a board with 1 woman. So the research has been really interesting. I went into very many areas. I went into leisure trusts as well. And what we're hoping for, Ailsa, is that over 3 years, we can monitor it, we can see the changes, and hopefully there are changes. But given at the rate where at the moment the acceleration is happening, it's going to be about 13, 14 years before we see this balance on boards.
In terms of the balance on boards, what would you like to see? Women have been added, but like you say, only 2 men have come away from that. What immediate changes would you like to see for that? Well,
I think we do understand it won't happen overnight, but you can't have a balance when there's just 1 woman, and you know, you've normally got about 10, 12 on a board. I think what we have to do is make organisations understand the benefits. You know, we have to sell the benefits. We're not beating them over the head with a big stick, but get the benefits to them. If people understand, Judy Murray said it, Sue Strachan said it, women understand women. We really understand what's needed, what will encourage them, what will entice them. So the more women you've got on the boards, the more likely you're going to have success in your women's programmes. So I think what we have to do is this realisation that it's not just to tick a box. It's not just to say we've got a woman. That's not what we're looking for. Diversity of thought, diversity of gender, diversity of culture is needed in every board, and then you'll get good decision making.
Well, another thing in terms of women's sport and on the road to equality, which is a long time away, but we are on the right path, hopefully, is visibility and getting the game out there. And actually Scotland women's rugby team had a brilliant weekend. They were live on BBC Alba playing for their place in the Rugby World Cup, which they are now. Just due to points and how the tournament finished, they do have another mini tournament to play. But actually, it was great for them to be back on TV and just seeing the progress of that too. And hopefully the Rugby World Cup is within reach for Scotland, and we will see them there next year.
I think that would be wonderful. I mean, I do understand the pressures on the players. There is no doubt, you know, we're going back maybe 10 years, Scottish women's football, when the national team were probably in the same position. I think rugby is definitely accelerating its presence where women are concerned. And we had a lady called Katie Sadley at our conference. Now, she was the general manager of World Rugby for Women, although she is leaving now to be the CEO of Commonwealth Games and based down in Birmingham. But I thought it was very interesting. If we go back to what we were talking about beforehand, she said that when she first went in to a meeting of World Rugby, it was a room of 30 men. So she was the only woman. And she thought, that's got to change. And if you met Katie, you would know that, yeah, it would change, and it did. So she's now sitting with a room where there's 17 women in this, and that's where, you know, the support comes from her to put our programmes out. And I think it was really interesting. You know, next year's going to be a great year for women's rugby. The steps have taken already. They've got a great partner in MasterCard. What a great coup for them to take that on board. And the fact that, you know, Scotland could be there on that world stage, I would just love it. It would be great, wouldn't it?
I was going to say, even listening to Katie at the conference must have been, you must have thought, right, Scotland have to get there. The pressure is on now.
Yeah. Actually, what I took from her was the more inclusive side of rugby. She was very, very interested in how rugby could be used as a sport for change in other countries. And she did show a film of it, you know, out in other countries. But what they have got planned in terms of their promotion for the World Cup is really exciting, and I think it's wonderful to see. It's about time women got the same type of promotion when they're reaching the heights of their sport.
Absolutely. Well, a very fascinating conference, and also hopefully all the best to Scotland in January.
Yes.
An talbhanis Cluinnidh von Parailimpeach Alba nach Melanie Woods. Àrd-Oifigear mun Cluinnidh an a réisio cathair-cuibhle agus an tolcha sa húraí bó bhí tug ar son na Geamaichean Parailimpeach anna Tokyo.
Háisiche himmert ag Cluinnidh Alba nach Melanie Woods an the réisio cathair-cuibhle as jo bhí túpast an na dhearbhaidh a
I acquired an injury kind of 3 years ago, just over 3 years ago, which meant I now use a wheelchair full time. So that kind of really opened my eyes into the world of disability sport, and, you know, kind of looking at all these different sports that I had probably seen before, but hadn't really thought about. And now it was kind of just an opportunity to get involved, try different things. And after, doing a number of sports, wheelchair racing was the one that kind of grabbed me. And to be honest, I just kind of committed. I committed wholeheartedly, and a few years on, I'm still working away at it.
Bha Melanie chud tolligte gur Spòrs has Bheir, sí mocht as an Àrd-Oifigear van a Àrd-Oifigear machs in Spòrs.
The first time I actually competed, you know, I was by no means a talent or very good at all. I was in a chair that the steering didn't work in it very well. So to be honest, my first experience was probably funny, if anything. But I guess it was just a bit of a thrill to be back competing and doing sport again, because for me at one point I thought that would have been taken away from me. So it was just exciting, and at no point was I looking at it like, oh, this is going to be, you know, elite sport for me. At that point, you know, I could barely push the chair. So it's definitely made me proud. I'm proud of like how much I've committed to it and how much I've achieved. I've really shown myself what hard work can achieve and how far that can take me. So yeah, I guess if anything, it's definitely made me proud of my resilience and my commitment to it.
Callach the Cluinnidh Iona who COVID buoyed Melanie and the Farpais Slighe for Tachterson, a Cluinnidh Iona on barach training.
Obviously, throughout the summer of 2020, everything started to get cancelled. Now, at first, that was actually a bit of a relief for me. So early on in the sport, like any more time to do training and to get better, like was totally valued in my opinion. So I kind of just took that as let's get back to working away at getting better at this, because ultimately, like I was so fresh, so new to it. And then I guess, as time went on, it was just about like, okay, like looking forward to when a race is going to appear and when can we start getting entered. So it definitely made things challenging in terms of facilities, and I was in my garage for the whole of winter on my own with a leak and no electricity. So honestly, at points I was like, what am I doing with my life? Like, why am I doing this to myself? But I guess getting the call up for Tokyo, that kind of made the grim nights in the garage worth it.
Chara Melanie and dhearbhaidh gonna Geamaichean Parailimpeach and a Tokyo Cupa Rugbaidh, ach dhearbhaidh Bheir on corm sin a glachgach.
Well, first of all, I was shocked. It wasn't on the plan. It wasn't something that I thought would happen. But when I got the call, I was just like completely shocked. I was probably the most like subdued reaction to a Paralympic call up that anyone's ever had, and just because I was like, is it real? Is it not real? So I guess as soon as it sunk in, it was just excitement. It was just like, oh my goodness, like I didn't know that would be possible in 3 years' time at Paris. So to have achieved it at this point, I was like, I just need to grab this. I need to enjoy it. I need to soak it up. And yeah, it's a big buzz to even be part of it.
Cuairt Iona Melanie howlan na Tokyo the Gamor, agus fai fiachan the Hena Vokig Sanaringation, and cuide the Sarlu Cluinnidh.
Overwhelming. It was absolute chaos. It was so many countries, athletes, so many sports, and yeah, when I say I tried to soak it all up, I guess that's what I did, but sometimes it was hard because there was just so much going on everywhere you looked. It was nice we had a holding camp beforehand, so it was nice to kind of settle into that and get some good training done and work with like some of the other athletes in British athletics that you might not usually get to work with. So that was really enjoyable. And then when we hit the village, it was just, the athlete village was just, it was madness. As I said, but at the same time, it was just such a buzz. Like you could see, you're just seeing so many different, in a world where I'm usually, or I feel like I'm a minority in terms of my disability and out in society, like you go to a Paralympic athlete village and you feel like you're part of this crazy world of amazing people. And to be honest, like I can't even put it into words what that feels like. So yeah, it was just an experience of a lifetime.
Ha Melanie Mochtal in the Hulishi and a height Colonach Sidriaka Kisho, as he called the third Sanarut, Àrd-Oifigear, Sehimert Spòrs.
It allows me to think about what I can achieve, and I guess I'm reminded of the real challenges I've been faced with in terms of not just my disability, but within sport, like trying or venturing out in something new has been so challenging, but I guess it's exciting to be able to share that with people and remind others of what you can overcome if you put your mind to it. So yeah, I guess there's a lot of emotions there. It's definitely been up and down, but yeah, like so many positives, which I can't complain about. So after Tokyo, I mean, Paris is definitely in my sights. Paris 2024. That's something that I now know I can achieve. I can get there. So it's just about like, what can I achieve when I get there? And the next couple of years are going to be exciting. Next year there's the Commonwealth Games, potentially in Birmingham, and there's also a World Championship back in Japan. So I guess it's just like put in a winter of work, continue to get better, and see where that lands me next year, which just fills me with excitement.
Maureen, what an incredible story of finding the positives in a situation, and again it just shows the power of sport.
Do you know, I always think the word inspiration is overused in sport, but you can definitely give Melanie that label. Just wonderful to hear it. And the absolute toughness to go out and just train and to be rewarded with the fact that she went. It's just lovely. It's just a lovely story, isn't it?
It's lovely.
Really, really impressed by her.
And even to hear Melanie talk about going through winter, training in her garage, there's no electricity, there's a leak. It's that mental strength that sport requires too.
Oh, it's amazing. I've really no idea where it comes from. I mean, I could never put myself in that position. I would want to go back home and sit nice and cosy and warm, having a cuppa or something. But, you know, just so focused, so determined. And I'm delighted that, you know, she did have a success because she got a personal best when she was out there, which is great.
Absolutely made it to the final two and finished 5th. So it's a great story. And it also shows the power of disability sport and the Paralympics, because anything can happen in life, and to have an accident, to go through something, a huge major change, and to be able to turn to sport, again, I know we've said it, but it shows the importance of it and what it means and how it can change people.
Yes, I agree with you totally. You know, you do sometimes wonder, was that spirit there, or did the spirit come because the sport crept in? But it's wonderful to see that happening and to watch the Paralympics. This year, for the first time at our awards dinner, we're actually going to have a category for the Para-Athlete of the Year. Never had it before, because it was always my thinking that we were an inclusive, and being inclusive, we'd have a Sportswoman of the Year. We've had Sammy Kinghorn being Sportswoman, but a little chat with Scottish Disability Sport said they actually think it would be something that would be really welcomed. So this year we're going to have both of them under the headline of the same sponsor, so they're equal in that way, but recognise both disabled and able-bodied athletes.
That'll be a really tough category because there's so many amazing athletes in there too.
That's why we have a nomination panel and it's not down to me. Thank goodness for that.
Oh, absolutely, it's great. But also you, I know Scottish Women in Sport, you are kind of working with Scottish Disability Sport. Can you tell us your plans with that?
Well, it's great to work with Scottish Disability Sport because they're so keen to any partnership, and we believe partnership working's a way forward. Boccia is very, very big programme within Scottish Disability Sport, but the numbers of females playing it's quite low. So we're going to work with them in terms of highlighting boccia throughout Women and Girls in Sport Week, which I think starts the 25th of October. So we're hoping to have a few wee surprises up our sleeve to deliver, obviously virtual surprises, but the aim is to let young girls know, just as Melanie did, that they can get involved in sport, that there's a sport there for everyone, you know, whether you're disabled or not, you know, able-bodied, there's a sport there for everyone, and boccia seems to fill that space for a lot of people who enjoy it.
Can you give us a hint for any of the surprises?
Oh, no.
we'll need to watch out for
yes.
it. But where would you like to see, say if we give Paris 2024 as the next, as a major milestone, where would you like to see disability sport in Scotland at that point in 3 years' time?
Oh gosh, I'm going to use a phrase here which I hate, this journey. You know, between that and the perfect storm, it's driving me mad at the moment. I think if we just keep on increasing the visibility, understanding the achievements, you know, to give Channel 4 their due, they've done amazing work with para sports, and I think that people now can feel it. It's a feeling you get, isn't it? You know, when you see someone who's had the hardest blow in their life, pick themselves up, and then they're on top of the pack again. It's just amazing. So I think if we can keep increasing the visibility, if we can keep on working with them in whatever, you know, Scottish Disability Sport do a great job. So if they can gain more partners and do more work, it's keep on doing what you're doing and move it up a gear year on year. And I think by 2024 we should have, you know, great numbers again in female athletes at the Olympics.
Brilliant. Well, a wonderful journey, as you say, to watch.
I know.
Thank you. Ba Meryl Cooper a riachach Cupa Rugbaidh ag Farpais Slighe na Cluinnidh Iona dhearbhaidh san Naidíag agus a fatach Àrd-Oifigear éile dhéanú an Bheir and in Thailand. Bhir Meryl Ritri Shesket gus barach Aisha Mungoolan.
Tá sé go amach san Spòrs Slighe rí hiún dá lúch leis Meryl Cooper go rí harasta. a siw hi ecyn y carachanaich y gael parst.
I heard of like a trail running event. It just sounded like really, really bonkers. It was like in the night, or some of it was in the night, and you had to wear a head torch on trail. And I was just like, that's crazy. One of my friends, a Scottish friend, actually was doing it out there. And then, yeah, I heard, that was literally the first time I'd heard about trail running. And the ultras came about a bit later through some other friends who'd kind of got into ultra running, and I signed up for a race that they did in Switzerland in 2016. They did it, and I signed up for it for the next year, 2017, and went and did it. But to prepare for it, I did another one in Oman first. So my first experience was a 50-kilometer race in Oman, and I ran like my first marathon and my first ultra that day. I think I'd only ran about maybe 30 kilometers before, so it was a bit of a big jump, but yeah, just loved it.
A Meryl gyman miniachach sa dói sa haia gulachus on gach reis, agus hai tiction gyfili a giwns gyfrwtig yn ŵr, awns gach reis cwchach.
There's so many things to take away every race, so I've got a lot of notes from them all, and you know what I've learned, what I did well, what I need to kind of focus on and improve on next time. But yeah, it's got a lot easier in terms of, you know, now I have the right kit, and I've got like the head torches that work long enough, and the spare head torches and the lightest poles. And so yeah, just kind of I focus on the learning, and I'm quite realistic that it's not always going to go perfectly well, but if I do and like plan and prepare my absolute best, then the chances of things going wrong are much slimmer. So yeah.
Va Meryl mar far syska bevrichting ar Farpais na Cluinnidh and Dhearbhaidh sy'n eich diag, with the Àrd-Oifigear gymor is vai a gopad colony jeper lúch lysichin as coachichin.
You know, I'm racing myself a lot of the time, so it was really nice to be part of a team, and also just, you know, I felt like I was surrounded by just these amazing athletes, particularly in the GB team. Obviously got to spend a lot of time with them and learn things from them. Yeah, no, it was a great experience. It's great to be with great managers as well, and you know, there's always a lot to learn from them and their experience at being at multiple world championships. So just really enjoyed being part of the team. And yeah, I was disappointed in my performance, but hopefully I can do a lot better at the next world champs.
Va Meryl either hug or sonske bevrichting ar achcuchug ag Geamaichean in the Cluinnidh and Thailand na sanimiche de Bliana. Tachert is haia jono fewerdish gymor.
Yeah, no, I'm delighted. It's great to have earned that spot. It's like always been a big goal of mine to represent Great Britain, and I did it a lot earlier in my career than I expected, because I only really started in 2018 in this sport and then raced in 2019. So I didn't have a huge amount of experience then. So and I was also called in, I was a reserve, but then brought into the team because someone was injured. So I'm so glad to be like selected and announced as the top 3. There's only been 3 picked at the moment, but to be in amongst those athletes is just incredible. It's really amazing, you know, to see the hard work just pay off, because I don't necessarily think that you know, I'm not as obviously I've got an ability in running, but I think I really had to work to develop it. It's not like, you know, genetically an advantage for me that maybe for some athletes it really has required years and years of hard work, if that makes sense. And yeah, it's just really rewarding to see it pay off.
Ha Meryl a gopel cwcrwy son geno cynjoch gynnyrigi a Farpais yn ein newing a siarad yn tyl. Is cwjoch a dochus a fi'n asar exemplar do Farpais Slighe.
I just really want a long career in this sport. I want to be a good role model in this sport as, you know, a healthy athlete, and a particularly healthy female athlete who's, you know, got a long career in the sport. I'd love to do some multi-stage ultras at some point. I'd love to do, yeah, like, you know, day after day after day, maybe for like 5 days. And you can obviously, through them, you're running different routes every day, so you get to cover a whole an area, like a really big area in your race, which would be super cool. And yeah, like I really want to keep doing better on the world stage when it comes to the World Championships. So yeah, very excited to see how I can do, and my goals are to do really well at these bigger kind of events that attract the world's best.
Maureen, I heard you say it watching that feature, and I said it too. I actually wrote it down here. The word was wow, because that is so impressive.
It could be another 3-letter word. Why?
We didn't ask that, we'll need to find out.
Oh, amazing. You know, you're almost blown away. The amount of preparation that must go into it, not just in terms of being fit, but mentally fit. All the things that go with it, the support systems, there's a big deal there. And again, we've got another Scottish person on the world stage. What can you ask for?
It's amazing. And like you just mentioned there, we mentioned it earlier in the programme, with Melanie, it's that mental strength. And she is really testing her body and pushing it to the limits, and it's both your mental and your physical strength to get through that.
Yeah, it's quite amazing. You're always in awe, aren't you, of athletes who do that, and I do always ask the question, why? I mean, that is some trek, isn't it? 80 miles?
80 kilometres.
80 kilometres, which is even longer. Yeah. I'm still in the miles club, I'm afraid.
But even then, being chosen to represent GB Great Britain in Thailand at the World Championships, 80 kilometres, it's a whole different weather, temperature that you're playing with there. Yeah. Even seeing the pictures of Meryl on different terrain, going up and down all these hills for so many hours, 80 kilometres, it's quite amazing, because I know that if I'm out a run and I see a hill, I'll just go on a different street to avoid it. Yeah, yeah. But seeing that just totally changes your mindset. Like, I know, okay, if I see a hill tonight, I'll try to take it on. And I think this course in Thailand she's got is pretty vertical. I was reading up about it, so I think the challenge is there from day one, or from hour one. But yes, it's good. And I think, again, for women, they have to understand how their bodies work so that they can do this endurance, because it can take a toll on everyone's body, but a different type of toll on a female's body. So yeah, it'll be interesting to watch her progress. Absolutely. I'm really excited to see how she gets on, actually. And the other thing that Meryl touched on there was also being a role model, and wanted to be a role model in the sport. I know I feel inspired, we've said it before, watching her, but role models in sport, particularly women, it's so important just now to, if you're a young girl or boy, seeing women on the top stage doing well, that's going to inspire anyone. I'm delighted you say young girl or boy, because it does. We've got to take both with us, because we want it to be, you know, across the board as kids grow up to appreciate and celebrate women in sport. Whether you're a man or a woman, you want to be able to do that. And I think role models are important, and for us that's something we've been looking at, and how we can help support future role models. And we go back to our conference where we spoke about the lack of women in decision making. We know there's a lot of reasons, and one of them really is they lack the confidence to put themselves forward. So delighted to say that, working with SAMH, the Scottish Association of Mental Health, we are looking at a mentorship programme. So we've started with a survey. We were looking for about 50 responses to give us a good viewpoint on it. We get 76. One of the things that came through was mental health. They needed more support for that. So we put together an expert panel. We had the lovely Georgia Adderley, who I know you've had on the programme, squash. She just come into the semi-final of the Open up at Inverness, the Scottish Open. And we had an insight from these young women. We intend to work with them. In fact, Robert Nesbitt, who's the head of sport for SAMH, has offered them at any point to come in to work with him in the organisation to see how things work, so that they feel a part of this. And we will deliver a mentorship scheme next year for these young women, and we're on the lookout for good mentors to come. We want to work with the mentors as well, so it's a full programme
varied programme to support young women and mentors, and hopefully we can change that stat from 13.8 years down to 13.8 months.
Absolutely. It sounds like an amazing programme. Will that be done on a kind of one-to-one basis with the mentor and the mentee, or will it be the mentor with a group of women and girls? I
think our thoughts are that it will be one-to-one, but we'll also be bringing them together. So we'll look at subjects that are important to them. We'll have discussions, delivery, but they will have somebody that they're aligned to. That you know, we're looking at all the different roles in sport. Producers behind the camera working in sport, commentators like yourself, journalists, you know, every avenue in sport, there's a niche there for women to get the numbers up. So to help them, we would look to try and pair them off with someone that can perhaps help them where their aspirations lie. So it's quite exciting. It's early doors yet, so I mean, I could be talking nonsense. It could change overnight, but that's the thought process at the moment. And we'll do a pilot programme with the young people we have, who I have to say are absolutely amazing. All these organisations now that have got a young people's panel coming up, you can understand why. The young women just speak absolute sense, and they're the future, so you've got to listen to them.
They are, and that's the thing. I mean, we kind of spoke about it briefly off air, but with this programme, we've already had a full 38 show season. We're into season 2, and each week we see different female athletes, mainly from Scotland and across the world, and it's a different feature every week, and every story is incredible, and it just shows that Scottish women in sport, Scottish women participating in sport, it's thriving.
Yes, yes. I don't think you will ever exhaust good stories to tell. And I think come our come our awards, we get even more, and ones that you've never heard of before. And that's what's lovely, because it's across the board at every level in sport. Everyone can achieve. They can achieve to their own standards. They don't have to be on the world stage. They achieve to their own standards, and they're happy and they're healthy. What else can you ask for?
I'm going to finish up, Maureen, with a big question, answer it how you will, but what would you like to see for the future of Scottish women in sport? I'm going to say the immediate future. What do you want to see within the next year?
Oh, no, that's a difficult one. I think we have to see a realisation from the powers that be that we need to have quotas. Now, that's not going to suit everyone, but if we've got 51% of the population being female, why are there so few in decision-making places? It's not because they can't deal with it. It's not because they're not knowledgeable. So we have to make quotas to bring those women in. I think that will make a difference in the decision-making, which will filter down to every level. So that would be my hope.
Absolutely. Well, hopefully we will see that within the next year. We'll definitely revisit it. But thank you so much for joining us again this week. It was great to have you back. Well, sinna hacin gaibh son noch, Jean-Cín Jock Rugby World BBC Alba ar YouTube son program Migérig ag trí seascad aing. And nach Jaachcin because Cuthbert vo Hockey Alba callroom, agus nach Geamaichean gèam Bheir BBC Alba in Jerry Jaachcin le Hibernian a Cluinnidh Rangers san SWPL. Císin sibh an ahuras.